Hello, hi everyone, Kelvin here from London Stereo View X, my channel where I review all types of stereo equipment, old and new, sometimes very cheap, sometimes not so cheap. What do I have today? I have a really gorgeous pair of Tannoy speakers. Yeah, these are prestige gold reference autograph minis from Tannoy. Quite a mouthful. Just quickly, if you don't know, Tannoy, in England, we call the Tannoy the loudspeaker system in the railway station. That people refer to that as the Tannoy, because obviously Tannoy were doing those speakers for a long time. I don't know, 1930s, something like this, awful long time ago. The other crucial thing about Tannoy is they've been doing this thing with the tweeter in the middle. Yeah, so that's the tweeter in the center, and the woofer's around the outside, and they're not connected. The woofer moves and the tweeter is stationary. Yeah, and they've been doing that for a long time, way before Kef did it. I don't know if any other companies, maybe Lowther, is there a few other companies that did it, but it's famously the Tannoy system. Yeah. So what we have, 50 watts a channel, that's what they're rating at. I mean, I'm calling these monitors, they are in the mini monitor world, you know. So I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll bring the camera in and give you some close-ups of it, and then we'll go to town about sound and also partnering equipment, which is quite crucial with these. I'll just tell you everything about them. I've been listening to them for days, so 1 second. Okay, so there you go. You can see it's made of walnut. Got this cloth down the side. I'll show you a grill in a minute, but let's have a look for now at this. If you can see that. I mean, they're quite incredible little bits of furniture, really. You want to call them furniture. And that GR there is engraved in. And there you go. Paper cone. The tweeter is metal, really. All that what you see in gold there is metal. And now, of course, that paper cone does something for the sound, you know, because paper is fast and responsive. Let's just quickly show you the back of these. I'll put the grills on in a second. So there you go. You see this triangular shape. You've got a port at the back. Terminals there. There's a little label at the bottom, actually, which will say designed and manufactured in the UK, which is kind of unusual. Okay, so I'll put the grill on the top there. These are, I believe, and I haven't researched, but I've seen old Tannoys just like this, which may have been triangular but much bigger. So that's what I'm seeing, is that they are like replicas of bigger, older Tannoys. I mean, they're certainly extremely retro looking. I got these, by the way, from the guys up at Audio Gold, which is, I don't know if it's the biggest shop in London. I'm sure it is, or it might be, you know, the south of England. It's a big shop here in North London. I mean, price-wise, these are above 2,000, yeah, above £2,000. Okay, let's talk about the sound of these things, and I'm just going to throw out words and comments, and you'll get it in the if I keep talking about these speakers. Beguiling. They're beguiling, they're beautiful, they're delicate. They're a bit valvy. This is really worth knowing, yeah? If you know what valve sounds like. There's a speed and agility with a paper cone, which emphasizes the mid frequencies, you would say, or is brilliant at mid frequencies. That, you know, I don't know, plastic cones, Kevlar cones, those woven cones, they don't seem to have that fine speed and agility. So that's the valve reference is quite a nice one, because it's just you could almost think you had on a valve amp and you've got on a transistor amp. The linkage between the tweeter and the woofer, you really don't notice any crossover points or anything like that. You know, the tweeter is fine and detailed and quite sort of, yeah, fine and detailed, and the cone is fine and detailed, so they kind of hang together really nicely and you don't notice any crossover points. Things that I particularly am tuned into, which is a lot about snare drums and drums in general, they're just super duper on these, super duper. The snare drum sound and the rim shot, there's just like a joy on its own. And if you say are into jazz and you want to hear a brilliant drummer on the snare drum, these are going to do it better than anything. Better than anything. I'm not saying they're the world's best speakers, but in that sort of mid-band frequency, whoa, I don't think it's going to get a lot better. But let me maybe back up a second, you know, because these are in the mini monitor world. Don't want to mislead you. They're not making a huge sound, yeah? It's not like those JBL 82s, which I reviewed the other day. They'll move your intestines around, you know what I mean? These are not doing that. They're in this precise, monitorish. I always think of it as a model village. You know, it's detailed and small. That's something I really love, you know. Also, of course, when you're in small speakers, it's not going to work in a huge room, and you want them fairly near to you. Though I would say they were quite happy, like 9 feet or 10 feet away from me. Where the Rogers LS35As, I have to have those closer to really get the sound stage. So let me keep talking about this sound here. I mean, we've got a port here. The bass, you know, it's again, there's this thing where you're not sitting there going, where is the bass? But there isn't stomach moving bass. But the mid-range is so sublime. That's just what you tune into. And on a speaker this size, I would say that's what you want to do. I mean, that's what you can do. And if you do the mid-range and the top end, great. That's what, you know, that's the only thing you can do with a small speaker, because you're not going to move that much air to feel a whack of a bass drum on your body. But personally, I'm really quite happy. I love this miniature, accurate world. Now, let me go into a bit more detail here. So, this tweeter is kind of focused. There is a difference between a tweeter like this and a dome tweeter. And the dome tweeter obviously will, you know, spread out all around. There's not a problem here with off-axis sound, but there is a kind of focus. They have a kind of focus, you know, which is involving, you know, you get an involving mid-range and sound stage. What am I trying to say? They're doing a similar thing to the Rogers in really creating a little world for you. These are bigger in the middle. They're getting more air and space in the middle. Maybe than is really there, or maybe it's exaggerated a little bit. But it's absolutely gorgeous and thoroughly entertaining. I found these relaxing, yeah, and they're relaxing to me because they're not doing things wrong. You know, that's if they're not doing something wrong, personally, I can just sit back and go, okay, good. I'm in safe hands. I don't have to worry. I don't. I'm not sitting there going, where did those sounds go? I can't hear X, Y, and Z sound. It's not. It's extremely not like that. And that's why I'm using the word beguiling. Did I say that earlier? So what do we have? It's about accuracy, very nuanced, very delicate in the middle, very fast moving, very quick. Drums sound fast, light, explosive. Now, it hasn't got bang weight, If one thing I would say is good for everything except for Led Zeppelin. Yeah? Because I did actually listen to Led Zeppelin on these speakers. But, I mean, great for jazz, great for everything, pop, blah, blah, blah. But probably not the welly that you want for something like heavy rock. Let me see, whatever. Okay, very relaxing. Mid and top is sublime. Let me do for you a comparison with the LS35A, which I did literally one after the other. Okay, it's not as good on vocals as the LS35A because that's the #1 speaker for voices. Yeah, it's quite close, but it isn't as good as and brilliantly accurate as that. But don't let me mislead you. Doesn't mean it's not good. It's got a lighter touch. It's got a quicker feel. It's just quicker. Drums are faster. It's a bit more airy. It's got a wider sound, This paper cone is really giving a structured mid-band sound, like nothing else really structured and lovely in the mid-range. What else did I say here? Yeah, wider sound. I put here, if you ask me to pick between these and the Rogers, firstly I would say is please don't do that, because I wouldn't want to have to. Honestly, even though they're not sounding like the Rogers, they're doing the same thing. They're making a lovely, perfect, not huge, but not small, but perfect little sound, that's just, it's not when you have big speakers, it's kind of bouncing all over the room. This is like this precise, detailed little world. And that, I somehow think that the tube that tweeter is somehow making focus, yeah? And I don't mean that means you have to listen right in front of that tube, but there's a focused and maybe a little bit of sort of hardness, but it's nice hard in the top end. It's just detailed hardness. Does that make any sense? What else here? If I had to pick, I couldn't decide. At one point I thought, I think I might pick these because they're kind of thrilling me a bit more with their airiness. But really, I would hate to have to pick. That's what I would say. Okay, let's talk about partnering equipment, yeah? Because, one thing I wanted to say was they say 50 watts is the max on the thing, and I would agree with that. To me, you want 15, 20 watts of quality, This is not about blasting. This is about creating a beautiful world. So to me, 15, 20 watts is fine, and I've been putting 50, 20 watts and 50 and all kinds of different things into them. If you go too big on an amp into these little boxes with amps that have actually seriously have bass, you just kind of choke them. You can't push a bigger sound out of a speaker, let it be what it wants to be. And so to me, a good 20 watts is fine. And possibly a transistor. And I only say this because I've got a really great valve amp here at the moment. And these being valvey, I kind of feel like the transistor gives them a little bit more weight. Yeah, it's a small point. It's a small point, but there's just something that crossed my mind. Criticisms. Let me do some criticisms, because you know, there's no speaker in the world that is the ultimate speaker. There's always something, you know, something you might tweak or this or that. So I'm doing these criticisms, but please understand, they are small. They are small, but you know, that's what I'm doing here. That's the job, basically. Not so good, really loud. Yeah, this is not the world of loudness. So you know, if you want, call the police speakers. No, these aren't those speakers. And I would say a tiny bit. You see, I've got to be so careful here, because I don't want to say some of these words, because I don't want them really being associated. But that tweeter, maybe some might find it hard or too detailed. Just too detailed. It's sweet sounding, but occasionally on female vocals I thought, this is, you know, her voice could move me a little bit more. But I am talking fine detail here, so it's, you know, you've got to get this into perspective, because I have to. I'm not going to just say everything's great. There will be criticisms, but they just are very small. Yeah, so not loud and not really rock, but anything else, it's a delight. It's sublime, beguiling, detailed, relaxing. Yeah, nice and relaxing. Sit back, listen to the music. Does that, yeah? Some speakers, some amps don't do that. They make your brain go clinical and start thinking and examining. These don't do that. They're just, they let you enjoy music, you know, and you'll find more going on in the mid band than you're used to, and it'll be interesting, and it'll be kind of solid and nice and positioned and unusually good. I mean, the LS358 are meant to be great in the best, probably, in the mid band, but I was getting a bit more info in the mid band here. And also I should say, bass wise, I'm probably getting, I wouldn't say as much, they are similar to the Rogers, similar, maybe a bit more tuneful, maybe a little bit more info in the bass there than the Rogers, which don't really perform great in the bass. So they're kind of giving me a bit more fullness, top to bottom, than the Rogers do. The Rogers just probably, in the end of the day, are the most correct. Yeah, but these are super enjoyable. Okay, I hope you got that sort of slightly convoluted way of explaining these to you. I really like these speakers. I'd like to have them. Okay, that's it. Thanks. Bye for now.